Hello everyone, this is Pico Entertainment and we are back again. And we're going to talk about tennis now, and just a quick update for anybody who doesn't know. Recently it was announced that the first Masters 1000 tournament of the year, which is located in Indian Wells in California, has been postponed following one case of coronavirus outbreak being confirmed within that area, the Coachella Valley area, which is in the state of California, which was confirmed recently. And following that confirmation, they've decided to postpone the tournament for the ongoing future of this year. So just quickly, overall thoughts on that is that I believe it was the right decision for this to be made. I know that Indian Wells is one of the biggest tournaments, not only of the Masters, but perhaps the whole year. It generally has an attendance of between 400 and 500,000 people that attend over the 2-week period that it takes place on. It was due to start this week, and it was due to end, I believe, on March the 22nd. So over that period, you're going to get thousands of fans, broadcasters, etc. coming in and out of the tournament from all over the globe. We already know the burning issues that this coronavirus has had, the impact it's taken on certain sporting events already throughout. So when you've got that massive amount of people coming in and out of the areas all over the world, and you get a sudden outbreak. I do know it was one case, but when you get a sudden outbreak like that, you really have to consider public health and public safety above all, whether it's regarding of players' rankings, tournament profits, sort of broadcast rights, viewings, etc., etc. People's health and safety has to be prioritised over all those issues and factors. So I don't have an issue with them cancelling. We've seen it already with other sports. I know recently the game between Manchester City and Arsenal, that was also cancelled, and we know that some matches within the Six Nations rugby tournament has also been cancelled as well. So this is not just something within tennis that's been decided. This is happening all over the place. So a couple of issues people have sort of raised and concerned. First of all is the fact that some lower ranked players and the impact it has on them. Now, in tennis, you have a certain amount of cost travelling and, providing your own equipment and paying for your own coaches, etc., etc. Now, for the top elite players like Nadal, Djokovic, Federer, Serena Williams, they earn multi-millions not only from participating in these tournaments when they are serial winners, and within these tournaments, the prize money generally tends to be 3, 4, 5 million. So they tend to be wealthier than the lower ranked players, plus all the money that they get from endorsements and sponsorship. So to them, not participating in a tournament such as this won't have too much of effect financially. But the lower ranked players, the players who kind of rely on just the participation, just to be able to get by in their tennis career on a year-to-year basis. And you never know, a lower-ranked player could have a successful run and end up earning sort of hundreds of thousands or potentially millions in prize money by participating in these tournaments. So that was what I've read, that the concerns were more over the lower-ranked players and the fact that now they can't participate in a lucrative tournaments such as Indian Wells. Are they going to struggle going forward, particularly if ongoing tournaments, the next one in line was the Miami Open, and that was due to begin on March 25th. Is that going to get cancelled? And then we speculate going forward the whole clay court season, which tournaments take place in Rome, and then we go even further with Roland Garros taking place in France. What's going to happen to those tournaments? And then we go even further with Wimbledon, which takes place in the middle of June. What's going to happen with Wimbledon, right? Because we know in the UK we are getting an increasing amount of cases, and the death toll, even though it's small, but it's still concerning, the fact that the death toll is slowly going up every single day. So what's going to happen to these tournaments going forward? Are we going to have to cancel those? Are we going to be in a scenario where we end up cancelling the whole tour for the rest of the year? Now, I don't think it's going to come to that, but we don't know. We're in the unknown element of this coronavirus. Is the spread going to be further or not? We know the initiatives being taken place by China, South Korea, and most recently Italy, with the whole takedown initiative that they've actioned now, and they are seeing a slowing down in the cases of the coronavirus. So we'd like to think hopefully by Wimbledon time, maybe even Roland Garros time, that the spread has kind of been slowed down to a point where these tournaments won't necessarily be cancelled. There's been no announcements made going forward so far that is going to be the case, but there are discussions going on by various tournament directors and people high up within the ATP and the WTA of that going forward. So again, one concern is the lower players' rankings and how are they going to be able to earn going forward. Another concern was the ranking situation itself. Now, for anybody who doesn't know how the ranking system works out, the way it works is that you participate in a tournament, right? And let's say, okay, it's a Grand Slam. Now, the maximum amount of points you can gain for winning a Grand Slam is 2,000 points. So if I win a Grand Slam, I then have 2,000 points, okay, that I've accumulated. Now, you keep those 2,000 points, and then when you go to the next year, what happens is you have to protect the 2,000 points that you've gained from last year. So you can't gain a further 2,000 points. You protect the 2,000 points from last year, and then if you lose in earlier rounds, so let's say if you lose in the semi-finals, okay, now the points you can gain from reaching semi-finals is 1,200, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. So the deficit from 2,000 to 1,200 is 800 points. So what would happen is you would lose 800 points. That's how the ranking works. It's on a rolling 52-week calendar year. That's how it works. So a lot of people are saying, well, if nobody can participate in this year's tournament, do we then take off those points that they gained from the previous year, or do we freeze the points? Because at the end of the day, is it right to penalise the players for something that's out of their control? You know, it's very different if someone's injured and they choose not to participate, or they don't participate due to scheduling. You know, we've seen recently Roger Federer in the past, he's decided to not participate in the whole clay court season, right? So anytime he had previous points from the clay court, he would lose those points. So this is a different scenario. So the other option is, do we just freeze the points and everybody kind of just retains any points that they gained from the previous year, which I think is probably the best way to do it. Okay, so the previous champions were Dominic Thiem and Bianca Andreescu. Now, Andreescu already pulled out, I believe, prior to this postponement. So do we take off her points as opposed to Dominic Thiem? Do we freeze his points because he wanted to participate as all the other top players did as well? So I think freezing points is a fair enough decision. But if they were to take off people's points, you're applying that to everyone. So as long as it's applied to everybody, whether you take away the points or you freeze the points, then I think that's fair either way going forward. So there's no real, I think, big issue going forward on the ranking points there. You just freeze the points. And again, if you want to apply that to the Miami tournament, whether that gets cancelled, that's fair enough. You just apply that same principle throughout. So I'm sure the ATP will make an announcement very shortly what's going to happen in terms of ranking points if tournaments within the future get cancelled on here. So like I said, again, that is the right decision, like I said, to postpone the tournament. Public health and public safety takes priority overall. I know there's been talk of, should we play these tournaments behind closed doors? If you just want to keep the tour going, I don't think that they're going to do that, because what you've then got an issue is the potential loss, you see, in terms of ticket sales and broadcast rights and viewings, etc., by keeping these tournaments going. So even though you're playing behind closed doors, you've still got costs of pushing forward the tournaments, haven't you, in terms of accommodation and all the other activities going on, in terms of employing staff and ball kids and umpires and keeping the whole stadiums going, etc., etc. So there's still a running amount of costs, even though you play these tournaments behind closed doors, and it's very expensive output each year, particularly when you talk about some tournaments the size of an Indian Wells, right? So they won't be able to accommodate for those costs if they're not allowed to have any ticket sales and viewing rights, TV rights, etc., etc. So I don't think that's going to be a viable option, playing behind closed doors for this. So I think they weighed all of those elements when they were making this decision. They decided the best thing to do was to postpone the tournament, which again I agree with. I know some people will say, well, it was only one case, but you know, small numbers could lead into bigger numbers. We've just seen recently, you know, with Italy, how their initial numbers for the coronavirus outbreak were very small, and now they're dealing with hundreds of deaths, and they're dealing now with thousands of cases of infection. And again, when you're talking about an Indian Wells tournament that has 4 to 500,000 people visiting over a 2-week period, you know, that's such a substantial amount. You shouldn't take any risk going forward with that. So I agree with that. The only other issue I think people were bringing up was the fact that I think it was announced primarily over social media, and they weren't really told by the ATP players who had travelled long distances and had already gone through practicing, and you had qualifiers as well already being prepared to take forward with their matches. So the notification process wasn't as clear cut, and players took issue with that, which is fair enough. You know, if you know something's going to be cancelled, then you've got to let players know. And again, that's the whole process of how the virus could have spread even more. If people are already travelling over, and then all of a sudden you cancel the tournament. So again, it's just the increased risk of people travelling when they didn't need to. So that's something I think they need to take in consideration going forward for the following tournaments. Like I said, your Miami and then your clay court season going forward on there. So that's just another consideration they need to take in place. But for me, the right decision, and again, they need to really now consider. I mean, I think the Miami Open, which take place really a couple of days after the Indian Wells, I think personally that's going to get postponed as well. And then they really need to make a decision of what's going to happen with the clay court season. You see, the problem you have is a lot of the ongoing tournaments, the clay court season, the Masters, Rome, and the French Open, and then with Wimbledon, they all taking place within the catchment areas that are being affected the most right now with the coronavirus. See, that's the issue that ATP Tour currently has, and it's all within a short space of time. So you'd like to think, for example, by the time we get to the US Open, which is sort of late August, September, and that takes place in New York, and then later on with the ATP Finals, which is, I think, in London. This is the last time I think it takes place in London. You'd like to think by that time we've kind of got a grip more on this virus. So I wouldn't say at the moment those tournaments are in danger of getting cancelled. But again, we don't know what this coronavirus is going to be like in the next couple of months. So that's my quick update on that for now. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Did you agree with the decision to cancel this tournament? Do you think there's a possibility that maybe they can fit the tournament in later on this year? Because it's such a massive tournament and a lucrative tournament, can they squeeze it later on in the calendar? I'm not so sure, because you've got so many tournaments going on really throughout the whole year within tennis. People, I think, don't value enough the fact that tennis is really an ongoing event throughout the whole year. So how can you put something like Indian Wells later on in the schedule, which again is a 2-week tournament, then you've got to move around other tournaments in the year, so that can get very messy. So I think it's best just to leave the tournament where it is. Or do you disagree with that? Do you think, because it was only one confirmed case, I believe, update that in the comments if I'm wrong on that, it was only one confirmed case, do you think that was too small to cancel a whole tournament? Or do you think that one case is too many and they were right to pull that back considering the amount of people that visit this tournament? So that's my thoughts on that quickly. I'll give you further updates as we go along, particularly with the up and coming tournaments. Like I said, if I were to bet, I would say that the Miami Open will probably be cancelled as well, and then they'll probably wait and see where things are before making a decision on the clay court season. So that's my thoughts on the Indian Wells being postponed for this year. For now, let me know what you think in the comments below. Subscribe. Take care of yourselves for now, and I will see you very soon.